Now I would like to invite Dr. Manca Erzetič, who is on the one hand a research fellow at the Institute Nova Revija for the Humanities and also a professor at the Faculty of Slovenian International Studies of the New University in Ljubljana.
Hello. My paper today refers to an article, The Hermeneutic of Testimony in the Context of Social Mediation, published in the monograph Thinking Togetherness, Phenomenology and Sociality. Since the text is available, and probably we will discuss later, I will not repeat the issues developed there, which are related to the conceptualization of the phenomenon of testimoniality, which only makes possible to discuss the validity of testimonies in a social context. Today, I would like to point to the specific implementation of the witnessing within a historical, social, literary, reflective, and ethical context, which is documented in Boris Novak's epic poem, The Doors of No Return. Since most of the guests at the conference, as well as, unfortunately, many from Slovenia, are not familiar with the creative aura and personality of Boris Novak, allow me to give a brief presentation. Boris Novak, Slovenian poet, playwright, translator, essayist, literary theorist, and children's book writer, was born in Belgrade in 1953. He studied comparative literature at the Faculty of Humanities and Social Science in Ljubljana, where he was also employed as a professor at the Department of Comparative Literature and Literary Theory till his retirement. He has been a visiting professor and invited author in many countries abroad. His publications include poetry collections like Still Life in Verses from 1977, Daughter of Memory from 1981, 1001 Verses from 1983, Coronation, Cataclysm, The Master of Insomnia, Alba, Echo, Glowing, Rituals of the Farewell, and selected poems from Linen Palms from 2006 and LPM, Little Personal Mythology, and Honeycomb. He wrote also pedagogical books of poetic form, such as Forms of the World, Forms of the Heart, and Forms of the Spirit, and Calendar of Moon. He also published several volumes of poetry for children and young people, wrote several puppets and radio plays and several drama texts. His poems, plays, and dramas have been translated into many languages, and he himself translated an anthology of Provençal troubadours and numerous works from French, English, Dutch, and South Slavic and other languages. His magnum opus, The Doors of No Return, is the first Slovenian epic novel after the Prešeron's Baptism on the Savica, Kars pri Savici, from 1835. As may you know, Prešeren is generally regarded as a national poet. After him, we have a national anthem. During your stay maybe in Ljubljana, you already crossed Prešeren Square. Novak's The Doors of No Return comprises 2,300 pages and approximately 45,000 verses. As he said, this masterpiece took him over 20 years. The first book, from 2014, is called Maps of Nostalgia. The second one, from 2015, Time of Fathers, while the third one, published in 2017, is called Dwelling Places and of Souls. The last book is a synthesis of the entire work and at the same time a continuation of the first two with elegiac tones merged into apocalyptic vision of the world in which we live. This monumental work is in many ways unique in a contemporary Slovenian literature. Novak was one of the founders and later editor-in-chief of the leading Slovenian dissident publication and cultural journal Nova Revija, which played a crucial role in the democratization and independence of Slovenia. As a president of the Slovene International Association of Writers, Poets, Essayists, and Novelists named PEN between 1991 and 1996, and chair of the Writers for Peace Committee of International PEN between 1994 and 2000, He organized humanitarian help for refugees from the former Yugoslavia, especially intellectuals and writers from Sarajevo, which was one of the biggest humanitarian efforts in the history of the World Writers' Organization. Novak received several national and international awards. Among them, in 2000, he was awarded an International Bosnian Tom Prize for his poetic work by the Writers' Association of Bosnia and Herzegovina. In 2018 and 2011, he was awarded as a Knight of the French Republic, Knight of the Order of Academic Palm, and Knight of the Order of Art and Literature. He is a correspondent member of the French Poetic Academy Mallarmé, and a corresponding member of the Croatian Academy of Science. Of course, he is an associate member also in Slovenia Academy of Science and Arts. In 2018, he received the most prestigious national award, Prešeren Lifetime Achievement Award. So, in this interview, on the occasion of receiving this award, Boris Novak points out, among other things, quotation, "Memory is a fundamental category for me. I have always experienced myself as a former ex-being due to the specific circumstances of my life, including my move from Belgrade to Ljubljana at the tender age of 14. My essence is in the past, and I have been obsessively exploring this past, most recently during the long process of writing the epic The Doors of No Return. In the process of writing it, I realized that I owe most of the stories I have written to my childhood listening to the stories of my parents, my relatives." End of quotation. Remembering is not just a process that is carried out as a human ability to retain and reconstruct ideas, thoughts, or data in consciousness that relate to an event in the past. Remembering as a cognitive process is related to the event itself and does not interfere with the understanding of what it is remembered. Remembering simply restores, recalls the events, the feelings that belong to a certain life without remembering the presentness of existence itself. It is without understanding what the one who is remembering has been a witness to. Witnessing does take from memory, but it is not simply a reconstruction of events from the past historical situation. The witnesses does draw from the memory, but it does not merely recreate events from a past historical situation. Witnessing does not attest to a memory as a cognition, but by making sense of the validity of humanity. The meaning of the witnessing is the testifying of humanity from the rethinking of what a human has been, is, and will be witness to. As can be seen from the above quotation from Boris Novak, emphasize the prolonged and deeply existential confrontation with the past on a personal, interpersonal, familial, historical, and poetic level, which preceded the publishing the epic poem or epos, The Doors of No Return. We deal with the confronted past that can be essentially open or closed to the future. Being awake in this way is being witness as a particular mode of poetic dwelling. In the foreword to the English translation of Novak's book The Masters of Insomnia from 1995, Aleš Debeljak, who was also a poet himself and an author of the foreword entitled The Sleeplessness and Poetry of Witnessing, writes in this regard. For Boris Novak, the search for various formulas of verse structure is nothing less than the search for an aesthetically provocative way of demonstrating how the creation of the perfect poem is the most eloquent revelation of the bloody, tragic, and stirring imperfection of the word. The poet's power in bearing witness to Sarajevo and Dalmatia, to his childhood room in his retired father, to the indifferent passage of time and the desperate pain of loss, confirms the melancholy clairvoyance of Walter Benjamin, who started the what is essential hide in the marginal, neglected, and hardly observed details. Whoever strives to see the big picture will inevitably overlook the essential. The poet is not interested at all by the big picture, and that's how it should be. It's been too long since he has slept. He gathers to him all the forgotten details of a past time and all the unspeakable cruelties of today and tries to rescue them from oblivion. The masters of insomnia exist because the devastation won't let him sleep. The poet doesn't know sleep because he is the witness of the world. Not for an instant will he be lured into the magic circle of dreams. His wide open eyes must watch over both the beauty of this life and the horror of the destruction. End of quotation. In this manner, testimoniality, if it's not limited in advance to one of the literary function, opens up a field into which the witness can enter through testifying in the form of opening up the historical world in the sense of understanding what am I witnessing in the first place, that is my own presence in the world. Testimonies are not just one of the narratives about something in the history, but they allow the existential understanding of how am I in the world. The historicity of human existence as a phenomenon can only be revealed as a phenomenon through being witness and witnessing, and not through documentation, archiving, narration, description, confession, etc. The fact that the poet witness is essentially bound to witness and to testify to human meaning in advanced conditions, the weak, precarious, and impossible position and guilt of the witness, which can go far as being completely speechless. The poet Boris Novak expresses this distress of witness in a poem entitled Testimony, Champ Royal. So, who to blame for a death of the doorstep of a quiet house? Who to blame for the blood? Who to blame for the screams? Who to blame for the guilt that the time cannot erase? Who to blame for the eternally broken memorials? Who to blame for the graves they never found that took so many sons from their parents? Who to blame? Shall I say, beside the tears of a child, that the river of history is too deep? Shall I pretend that a song is a flower of nothingness and remain silent? For I do know whose hand this is. I myself am to blame, I, the voiceless, time-it witness. The poem Testimony, Champ Royal, was originally written at the beginning of the wars in Croatia in 1991 and Bosnia in 1992, when Boris Novak launched a series of humanitarian activities on behalf of PEN. At the outbreak of war in Ukraine in 2022 and later in Gaza in 2023 and 24, the poet read the poem at the protest in January 2024. He raised his voice and protest and added a verse. I raised my timid voice through the guilt of silence. I am now blamed for the words. Dangerous than the wolf, I know how to kill with my tongue, the knife of nothingness. Poet, between speaking and remaining silent, I weep. I, too, am guilty. I, the loudly dreadful witness. In the recently published poem, Miss Anna Frank Goes to Gaza, this protesting voice is the witness is even stronger, as he said. When, after hours of nightmarish insomnia, Miss Frank fell into a dream, she found herself again there, on the stage of her eternal horror. She waited in a long queue of naked women of all ages. The final door opened. Before stepping in, the shining dew on the meadow, hit by the first ray of the sun, come to life as a rainbow, and two golden suns stared at her, and her barefoot eyes wanted out, and she opens them. And the frightful fairy tale ended. Two golden, miraculous eyes belonged to her morning alarm clock, to her old black tomcat lying on her chest, heavy as a rock. It's so good that you woke me up, Franzel, my guardian angel, my marvel. Today it's a great day, my feast. sorry, our feast. You deserve a feastful breakfast. Kafka, my beloved beast. We all know who Anna Frank was, and we know the meaning of her diaries during the Second World War. So this poem, Miss Anna Frank Go to Gaza, subtitled also like fairy tale, evokes Anna Frank as a witness due to the contemporary situation. The title of poem which invokes Anna Frank as a witness evokes the name of English pop band formed in Liverpool in 1980s, Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Franzel is Franz Kafka, of course. This is not the only Novak reference to Kafka. Reference to Kafka's short story For den Gesetz, Before the Law, or in Slovenian Pred vrati postave, is also found in the epos The Door of No Return, in chapter named Postava, which in Slovenian means both figure and law, and especially refers to Kafka's words, before the law stands a doorkeeper on guard. As in the style of the epic or epos, The Door of No Return, the author seems to be exploring modern forms of mass communication to achieve a greater heritorical effect. In the information sewer, all the doors are wide open, and yet none of them opens. Today's way of living in the age of e-portals, electronic portals, or e-books, electronic books, has led many people to believe that the essential is hidden in a quick, short form of information, preferably e-information. If we have accepted this electronic form, then we follow a priori what a short, quick, often fake news tell us, and thus want to calibrate it according to their consumer patterns and market needs. The manipulation of media technology has become a tool which extreme consequences erases the sense of historicity for the individual human being and for humanity as a community. Historicity should not be understood here as something archaic or something to be achieved. Historicity does not need to be particularly vivified, but it's only alive to the extent that we ourselves are alive, that is, insofar as we are able to being witness to what has always been there, that is, to the very temporality of the world itself. What was once here or will once be here belongs essentially to the world. This once is itself the door of no return, witnessing historically by turning on and off while the storyteller restores the epic journey. From the point of view of literary theory, an epic is defined as a poetic form of narrative that describes a heroic deed and or a mythological story, as opposed to the intimate story of an individual. Philosophers and literary critics, Bakhtin and Lukács, have noted that precisely because we don't live in an ancient Greek world of mythologization, both Homeric epic and tragedy are dead, and this withdrawn, empty place is filled by novel where the story of the individual can become a narrative thread. But as Janez Vrečko, a respected and well-known Slovenian professor of literary history and theory at University of Ljubljana, who has also worked in detail on the literary theory of epic drawing on Bakhtin, Lukács, Steiner, etc., points out in his introduction to the epic poem The Door of No Return, quotation, "For Novak, this epic is very much alive. Not only that, he believes that it is still able to resonate in our time in a contemporary and authentic way, precisely because it has been preserved over the centuries. Novak's belief is that the most vibrant genre is the one that has been declared dead, and he is therefore convinced that the epic is possible even in the age of gunpowder, firearms, globalization, and digitalization." End of quotation. The author enters into historically by testifying about Slovenian heroes or heroic or non-heroic deeds, the Second World War and post-war situation, which confront one's individuality as an intimate witness of the 20th century, through which historically stands out. The key question posed at the beginning of the epic is crucial to understanding the concern in the doors of no return. Who is writing this epic? It is the witness. Is it the testifier of this epic a witness to a historical testimony of those who are no longer alive but who are still present in the epic as bearing witness through his testimony? He is authorized by the historicity that is imposed on him by his family patrimony, and he has the authority to bear witness to the others who have entrusted him with the message of the legacy. The author returns to the family patrimony, especially at his father, the family patrimony that allows the transmission of the message from the mouth to the mouth, so from his father to the son, in this case Novak, ante, to this case to Boris. At the same time, the testifier himself becomes aware of the fact that his own commitment to the family legacy as a historical situation in which it has been placed is necessary for the fulfillment of what the legacy calls for. Although the epic, The Doors of No Return, does not, from a historiographical point of view, describe entirely real events due to the literarization, it does, however, testify in its unique and distinct poetic way the truth, even the truth about reality. The epic is not a metafiction with reality inputs, but an attestation in a distinguished manner. An epic cannot be a metafiction insofar as it is deliverance of humanity, which appealed to the watchfulness of the poetic dwelling to attest something, to what it is to be witnessed. It is not a question of confirming or denying or characterizing the epic as a testimonial work, but what is decisive is that the epic form makes it possible for the witness to testify, for the testifier to bear witness. The epic does draw the witness from a historical situation and opens the door to the testifier. Example from The Doors of No Return, the time of Dante, the time of ante. And just one mention at the conclusion, as Novak once said in the text Dante in The Doors of No Return, Dante Alighieri was a great inspiration for me when writing my epos, The Door of No Return. It took me long years for a hard work to accomplish this epos. However, the basic rhyme was offered to me as a gift of the language, Dante Ante. Ante being my name of the late father, the rhyme enabled me to construct Dante as my poetic father and my biological father, Ante as the first storyteller. But nonetheless, the connection does not only refer only on similarity of the names, but perfectly accomplish epic as a poetically and historically. Thank you. The first volume is also translated in English, but the whole opus is 3 books.
So thank you very much for the lecture, and I open the floor to questions and perhaps some clarifications would be in order for our from or something. I don't know if there's a question. Yeah.
You mentioned the word confession and say that it's in a kind of opposition to testimony. How do you, can you, I would not exclude the idea of confessing as I'm guilty. It's a confession, but it's also a kind of testimony. So you seem to oppose them, to say testimony is not confession. But I think it's a special case of
it depends.
Because it's of course it's confessing also. I confess to my friend because I have a difficult situation with my wife, and he will listen calm about my problems and so on.
Yeah, but this is exactly what you said before. This is not testimony in that way, in that phenomenological understanding of what is to be witness. So maybe confessing in that way that you are applying what was your wife, your husband, and so on done to you or to us, it's more crucial about what about the existential situation that we are put it in. In that manner, the confession is maybe more relevant. We have also other examples in Slovenia. I wrote that in my book on about about testimony, hermeneutics of testimony, about some various stage of what to mean to be witness, and among them is also one who was confessing that he knew or he was a witness to after the war crimes after the Second World War. What was so in this kind in this perspective of confession is more related to be witness or to testimony.
So it's in one hand, when you are bearing witness, you can be a surviving witness.
Yeah.
Because when you receive you felt the horror on yourself, you can be a humanitarian witness when you witness the horror of the others. But when you are confessing witness, you are not the victim of the other's violence. You can be also the perpetrator. I confess that I was the killer. So it's a different point of the first person perspective. It's when
confessing witness. So, well, maybe we will discuss later. But what about those who are in not in Nuremberg process, but let's say. We cannot say that they were a witness, but they were present there and they were confessing some crimes, let's say, or not confessing, or like this. But in this manner, when we have a problem with mass graves and so on, about the post-war situations, you can have a confessing witness, but is the witness really, can be said that this is a witness? Can, let's say, Goebbels or somebody cannot be a witness, even though they were there, let's say, or maybe I could choose one better example. Somebody who is confessing that he was doing crimes over humanity, can be treated as a witness? Or is this preserved? Yeah. Maybe preserved is not a good word. Just for
the thing is relevant is the fact that the first person is there.
Yeah.
I saw, I was there.
Yeah.
I was simply observing, or also I was enduring that or that. But I was the involved. The fact that this is the I, the ego is there. I think it's also the idea of confession can be integrated in the framework of the phenomenology of testimony.
Yeah, it is a difference between if you say I am a witness to that now it's raining and I am a witness to.
Yeah. Also, there is a confession as a religious practice. It's also another.
That's another thing, because this field. Maybe later we will be talking about when this Thinking Togetherness will be presented, because this is interdisciplinary problem which is related to religion, to...
Because this confession in the religious sense can also can be linked with the attestation in the Heideggerian, the authenticity. How to, the authenticity of das and the attestation in Entschlossenheit.
And also being witness, in this da of Dasein. Okay.
Thank you very much.